But that's good. I do. That's great. Man, really? That's what she just said. Okay, cut me some slack.
You're live.
It's tough when you turn 46.
We just had this conversation.
I'm trying.
Wait, I'll make sure they're live out there.
Yes. Yeah. I think this is the main one.
Okay.
Just let them know.
All right.
You were right, Chairman. Somebody else. Wide open. Then you come to my house. Yep. I'm cheap. Do good. Yeah, you can get it as cheap as you want. Yeah, that'll last. I'm battling the That's what I'm at. Well, I have a hole and I patched it, water, and then I got to look on the edge. So the liner's been changed. The clip at the top, where it like clips in, it's like peeling from the concrete.
Yeah, we're good.
And my kids don't even use it. It's just for looks.
Yeah. Somewhat more.
It's a lot. It's all you sign it in. There's the amendment. I knew you were looking for something. I changed it
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Signing the one, right? Yeah. Unless you want to speak, you don't speak. Oh, yeah. Jason.
Turn it down.
Anybody else want to sign up to speak at any point?
All right, good evening, everyone. I have 6:05 on the 14th of April. We have a quorum present, and I call this regular commission meeting of the Upson County Board of Commissioners to order. First thing we'll do is the invocation, and I have Mr. Weems is going to help us out with that today. Please stand.
Lord, I thank you for the day and thank you for the opportunity to come together as both fellow believers and citizens of this community. Lord, I ask now that you go before us in this meeting. You already ordained these men to be the ones who govern over us in this time. Lord, let us remind ourselves that love does no harm. Love looks out for the neighbor. Love ourselves as we love others. And Lord, in doing so, we'll fulfill the whole law. So whatever happens here tonight, Lord, whatever goes forward from this moment, we know that you're present. We know that you're leading and you're guiding. And Lord, regardless of all of those things, we have hope for eternity. We have the hope for the grace that you've given us through your Son's shed blood upon Calvary's hill. And Lord, that's what I'll live on. That's where I'll stand. Lord, you know my needs before I need it. You said they're not chased after what comes from the mouth of food or water or clothing. Heathens chased after that, to seek first your kingdom. So Lord, we're here to seek your kingdom, to seek your reign, to seek your power. Give us wisdom, discernment, understanding, and most importantly, Lord, let your love reign in each and every voice here today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Please be seated. First item is approval of the agenda, and I think we need to make an adjustment.
Yes, if it pleases the Commissioners, Chairman, I would like to strike item F from new business.
Okay.
That needs to go back to the sheriff for some discussion before it comes to you guys.
All right, can I get someone to give me a motion to approve the agenda minus F on new business, or is there any other changes that we need?
So moved. Second.
All right, I didn't hear who.
Biggs.
Okay, Commissioner Biggs and Commissioner Watson.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next item up is public hearings. The first public hearing is a rezoning. Rezoning the REZ 2026-02 applicant and property owner Robert A. Ellington of Thomaston, Georgia. Registered agent Michael E. Niekirk, I hope I said that correctly. Mount Carmel, Illinois, has requested Upson County rezone 22.86 acres, more or less off Crest Highway from AR to M1 for development of water harvesting, loading and transporting spring water from the site. The 22.86 acres are further identified as tax parcel 014-039 Bravo in land lot 128 of the 15th Land District. Okay. At this time, do we have any conflicts of interest?
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I'm disclosing that the applicant shares my same last name, even though I don't have any financial or personal interest in this. I, request to avoid any appearance of impropriety. I respectfully accuse myself of participating in discussion and voting on this item. And I present this to you for the record.
So we have Commissioner Ellington, District 2, is recusing himself based on a perception of a conflict of interest. Any other items we need to cover before we start? All right. Can I get a motion to open a public hearing?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Watson to open the public hearing.
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Ellington?
Abstain.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Do we have a presentation from the county at all on this, or is it just the applicant?
Just applicant.
How many things am I supposed to have here?
Just that. Just
Okay, so the applicant is Mr. Jeffrey Ellington. And so the way this works for everyone, the applicant will be given 10 minutes to present the rezoning application. After that, we'll go into public comments. We'll hear all comments that are for, and then we'll hear all comments that are against. If there are any comments against, Mr. Ellington is entitled to another 10 minutes to rebut those comments. Floor is yours.
Basically, we'll jump right in. The handouts that I provided to the members of the board, we'll start with page 1, which is a topographical map. Everybody knows why we're here. The topographical map is a map of the parcel that we're seeking to rezone from AR to M1 for water harvesting. I want to draw your attention to the area behind Crystal Springs, which is located in the middle of that map. There are 2 wells designated behind there, right next to Womble Creek, which is the blue line running through the map. They're designated by a TW1 and an MW2. Those are prior test wells that were drilled on the property. They are on either side of the spring that provides water to those wells. There's been a chemical match in those wells, so we do know that both wells are drawing water from that spring. Now, basically, the way the operation would work and what we're seeking to do, we're seeking rezoning to M1 to allow us to drill a production well, 1 or 2 production wells in that same vicinity, pump water out of those wells, which would be spring water because of the chemical match to spring number 2, as designated on that map. That water would then be pumped underground to the easternmost portion of the property. If I can draw your attention to the next map, which is a site map drawing. The area to the middle and to the right is a site map of what would be developed. It is approximately 1 acre. It would be a fenced-in area. It would be key code access by the truck drivers when they pull in. The water that would be pumped from the wells would be pumped to storage tanks that would be inside of a building that would be included inside that 1 acre. Trucks would pull in off of the highway, pull in through a key access gate back beside that building, and then hook up to lines that would basically load the water from the tanks that are inside the building to the tanker. Loading process takes approximately 18 to 20 minutes. The truck would then pull off, pull back out of the same gate, back to the highway. Now, that entire process on site is about approximately 30 minutes. Now, there are additional parking spaces, if you notice, on the map for truck parking that's waiting to be loaded and parking for vehicles. Now, if you turn your attention to the next 3 maps or next 3 drawings, these are renderings of the building that would be on site. This will be a 40 by 60 foot building. It would be brick and metal. It would be aesthetically conformed to all other buildings in the community. Inside of that building would be, as depicted on the first page, which is the floor plan, there would be a kitchen for the drivers, a restroom for the drivers, and an open area that would hold storage tanks in the total amount of approximately 30,000 gallons. Now, the pumps to pump this water to the trucks would also be enclosed inside this building, alleviating any concern about noise at the site from the pumps. The next 2 drawings after the floor plan are just renderings, elevation renderings from either end and from either side of the building. Now, the next issue gets into the concern that some citizens of the community have expressed during the zoning hearing or hearing before the zoning board. When the truck leaves the facility, and it's a simple process, basically water's pumped from the well, storage tanks, loaded onto the truck then pulls out back to the highway. Now, the drive that will be used is the current drive that is in place. It will be rebuilt, it will be widened, according to DOT specifications, and permitting all additions or remodeling of that drive will be subject to permits by the DOT and their approval. Now, the location of that drive would remain the same, and the concerns from some citizens last time were that the line of sight distance for truck drivers pulling out created a traffic concern. Trucks pulling out of that drive back to the highway will be crossing the eastbound lanes, getting into the westbound lanes, and proceeding westward. Line of sight, if you're looking from that drive back west toward Woodbury, the line of sight is 2,000 feet approximately, give or take a little. The line of sight back toward Thomaston, if you're looking east, is 760 feet. Now, the requirement from the DOT is a line of sight of 610, so the line of sight is met in each direction. However, the concern is a truck pulling out of that drive, crossing the eastbound lanes into the westbound lane, and a car may be coming around the curve, encountering the truck that's trying to pull out. We spoke about that after the meeting last time, and what we came up with was the following. And if you turn the page to the next page, it shows a traffic monitoring system. This is a type of system that is used by DOT. DOTs basically around the country in different states. The loaded truck, when pulling back out onto the highway, is going to take about 15 to 20 seconds to get across the eastbound lane of traffic and get up to speed. A car traveling at 60 miles an hour during that period is going to travel a third of a mile, basically 1,760 feet. The truck driver, when he's pulling out, has a line of sight of 760 feet. How do we increase that line of sight so the truck driver can rest assured pulling out and the vehicles on the road can rest assured that there's not going to be a vehicle crossing the lane of traffic when they're coming around the curve? This is a radar-based traffic monitoring system. Basically, what it would be a monitoring system that would be the truck driver's, for lack of a better word, electronic eyes that would look around the curve, down the straightaway, an additional 1,000 feet. This would give the truck driver the assurance that when he goes to pull out onto the highway, there's not a vehicle approaching from the east that is within 1,760 feet. Now, how does the system work? Basically, it's radar-based. The radar monitors oncoming traffic, incoming traffic, the speed, number of vehicles. It relays that information back to the brains of the system, which then controls a red light, green light, which will be mounted at the entrance and exit way of the site. So basically, if a vehicle is within the 1,760 feet and is approaching the drive, then the driver has a red light. If there are no approaching vehicles, then the driver has a green light and can proceed onto the highway. What this does is assures the driver that he has time to get into the roadway. It assures drivers on the roadway that there's not going to be a truck trying to get into the roadway when they come around the curve. Now, if you look at the next page, there's a letter of commitment from the owner of this company, Jody Todd. Jody is committed to adding this traffic monitoring system, which costs the company $18,000 for a one-way monitor. This will be made part of the site plan. This will address the community's concerns about traffic. This will alleviate the concerns about vehicles pulling out when there's not enough time. So the commitment letter, and members of the board can read it, and it's a brief description of how that system operates, but it's green light, red light, as I mentioned, and the drivers will be obeying by that signal that's at the entrance and exit way. Now, another issue and another concern that was addressed by members of the community last time dealing with traffic was the increased number of vehicles that will be on the highway. Last time the Department of Transportation did a study at this site, there was between 2,700 and 3,000 vehicles passing this site daily. At max performance or peak performance, we would be looking at adding approximately 40 vehicles per day. That would be 16 trucks in, 16 out for 32 plus other employees. Now, that is at max performance. That's an equivalent of about 1.5% increase to traffic on a major arterial highway that traverses through Upson County. So you're looking at the addition as being very, very negligible. And since we're talking about the drivers, what I wanted to point out, because I've heard some concerns as to what does this give back to the community. These are professional drivers. They will be hired from the community. There will be a need for between 12 and 15 commercial CDL drivers. We're looking to hire in the community, however the promise cannot be made who or from what actual community, but these are paying jobs starting around $100,000 per driver per year. So you're looking at adding 12 good paying jobs to the community. So there is a give back and a creation of jobs here. But with the traffic monitoring system, with the professional drivers, and the small increase in the number of vehicles, I think we are taking the steps to address the community's concern about traffic safety. I know the main concern, or what a lot of members want to speak about, is the impacts on water, and I'm going to yield the floor to public comment, and then I'll address that after that.
All right. Okay, we'll now move into public comment. Everyone signed up on the green sheet. We would go with those who signed up to speak for. At this time, I do not see any one signed up to speak for. We'll go into those speaking opposed. First up would be Mr. Rusty Blackson. Just please state your name and whether you're a resident of Upson County.
Good afternoon, Chairman of the Board. My name is Rusty Blackton, 387 Fanborough Road, Rock, Georgia. First, let me say, I have no ill intention against Mr. Lincoln and his family. I've known him all my life. I've known his wife's family all my life. We're together. Second, I'm not a proponent of zoning, but there are certain instances where it is beneficial to our community. Mr. Robert Nash, President of Georgia Farm Bureau, once told me 25 years ago that water would be the most precious commodity on the face of this earth. And I believe he's beginning to get right. The pollution we have, environmental problems, water is going to be scarce. People complain about gas. Go to your convenience store and pay $2.50 for a little bottle of water. It's going to take 6 of them to make a gallon. You're talking $15 a gallon for drinking water. Gas is $3.50 now. But getting away from all that, you say, why are you interested since you live in the far northeast corner? While I was on this board, we put millions of dollars into infrastructure for water systems. We bought land right past Mr. Ellington's house, $25,000 an acre we had to pay the state for, just because you could wash down a little bit of damp water. Where that land's at, I don't know. I think it's just a gimmick for the state to beat you out of some money, but that's hearsay. My concern is every taxpayer in Upson County has an investment in that property out there. And you're not going to answer a question, but I'm going to pose these to you for the record. What will this board do? Should, and they might draw a gazillion gallons of water a day off them out there and never take the water table. What's this board going to do to the constituents out in that area when their wells start going dry? What's it going to do when the water table drops? And none of you farm, but I do. Upson County and the majority of Georgia right now is in the extreme drought. A little further south, it's even worse. People already drawing from Flint River up north, seeing it everywhere. And this company is out of Illinois. What are they doing for Upson County? Taking our resources and carrying them off to sell. They don't buy homes here. They don't pay taxes here. They don't shop here locally. They don't buy their vehicles here. They're just taking the resources and leaving them with a profit on it. If this board does approve it, I would like.
Just 1 minute. Oh, you have 1 minute
Oh,
left.
I thought we had 3 minutes. Okay.
You have one left, that's what I'm
Oh,
telling you.
one left. Okay, excuse me.
We'll back it up a little bit.
That's
Go
all.
ahead.
I hope you would consider some type of stipulations of a monitoring system on people's wells that's affected in that area out there. And if things go awry, production or harvesting be stopped at that time. And be done by an independent company that the county select to do it for them. And if you deny it tonight, I'm quite sure it will wind up just like Pike County, you'll be in a lawsuit. But so be it. If it goes to court and if they are granted permission to do this, at least you can look your constituents in the eye and say, we tried to protect you and tried to protect your water here in Upson County. But what are you going to tell those 8,000 to 9,000 people on the water system when you don't have water to sell them? Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good evening.
All right. Next, I have Deborah Bell.
Thank you. I'm Debbie Bell. I live at 147 Mulberry Road. So the county has a comprehensive plan. That's a requirement by the Department of Community Affairs. And it's our roadmap for decision-making for land use and development and zoning issues. So it's very important, and it supports decisions that we make about land use. This area is not designated for industrial or manufactured uses. The comprehensive plan defines character areas in the county that identify uses and suitable future uses for each area. The principal areas identified for industrial uses are on Barnesville Highway and Delray Road, and an area along Thundering Springs Road, which is the location of the Tecate plant. The area that is the subject of this rezoning request is designated as medium-density residential, and beyond that, active agricultural and forestry. Rezonings should be consistent with the land use designations set out in our comprehensive plan. Approving an industrial zoning district here is in direct conflict with our comprehensive plan. If you feel that water harvesting is an acceptable use in AR, then a more appropriate solution might be to consider a text amendment to add water harvesting as a special exception use in AR. And that would be an appropriate forum to discuss the concerns about the potential effect on the water table and by extension private wells in the area. The key point before you tonight is a future land use issue with respect to the zoning request for M1. Once you zone a property to M1, it is eligible for all the uses permitted in M1. And you've grievously undermined our comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Miss Tammy Boyle.
Tammy Boyle, 245 Charlie Jones Road. You're going to hear a lot of the same things, unfortunately, this evening. So I'm here representing many residents of the Crest community to respectfully urge a no vote on the rezoning request. Our opposition is based on the following concerns: the inconsistency with the comprehensive plan. The Upson County Comprehensive Plan was developed through extensive public engagement to establish a consensus for future land use. This location is currently designated AR and is surrounded by active agriculture. The plan explicitly prioritizes the protection of open spaces, prime farmland, and vital water resources, values that the M1 request contradicts. Concerns about spot zoning. Rezoning this parcel to M1 constitutes spot zoning. It singles out a specific property for a classification that is inconsistent with the surrounding AR area for the benefit of a private interest. A zoning amendment should promote the public health, safety, and welfare, and we believe this industrial use provides no such benefit to the local community or the tax base. Water is a public resource. We view Upson County's water as a finite public resource to be managed for the common good rather than a commodity for private export. In line with the Georgia Joint Comprehensive Water Plan, while property owners have the right to reasonably use, the right should not extend to the mass extraction and sale of groundwater. Further concerns would be the depletion of shared resources. The increased extraction for bottling reduces the availability for residents and farms who depend on these aquifers. A system capacity cap. Will there be a total system capacity limit to prevent multiple entities from withdrawing and circumventing the 100,000 gallon per day threshold?
1 minute.
Also, monitoring and oversight. We're concerned that self-reporting lacks sufficient oversight. Furthermore, the offer to monitor neighboring wells within 1,500 feet during the testing phase is inadequate to predict long-term impacts on the hundreds of homes and farms in the broader area. We ask the board to uphold the integrity of our comprehensive plan and protect the natural resources of the Crest community by denying the request. Thank you.
Next up is Mr. Jason Weems.
Well, thank you for your time. I come as a neighbor to the Ellingtons, like Mr. Blackson said. I've known them my entire life. We live directly next door to them at 4121 Crest Highway. Our land, like their land, mine actually is in a trust, Georgia Piedmont Land and Trust, which my wife in a moment will speak to as a constituent of that trust. The things that I am concerned most about is that one of the things earlier, there was a development below us on Old Alabama Road. And one of the concerns I think that was a forefront there was that taking 90 wells in that area and then the average homeowner using only 3,000 gallons per day, that would have a problem with the aquifer sediment issues and things of that nature. This is proposing almost 3 times that amount per day. Also, my worry and concern is, like other people, the well and all of those things that we live off of, our lakes that we have in our house. But those things, like I said earlier in the prayer, the Lord knows I need water, so I'm going to let Him handle all of these things. But my biggest worry and concern with the long-term effect is that I don't think anybody owns a natural resource and can use it for personal gain. And I don't think that a personal gain in this matter will benefit us around as a community or the county. With that said, though, I also know that when the Thurston well was drilled, my lake, which is normally bathwater clear, turned brown. So that aquifer, that's the Thurston well, my water, and potentially this well is all drawing from the same aquifer source base. With all of that said, I will understand whatever you agree with. If we go with them or for them or against them, I'll still be their friends and their neighbor, and I'll still support them any way I can. But I do stand in opposition to us drawing out from this well water source for that main reason. And my land has as many springs on it as theirs, and I believe that if you allow them to do it, who's to say that I won't want to draw out of it? And then there are multiple people drawing out of that same aquifer source that also feeds the community well there at Thurston. So we, as a landowner, grantee, stand in opposition to this. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Next up is Miss Laura Weems.
Good evening. Laura Weems, 4121 Crest Highway. Also known to Ellington's my entire life. My step-grandfather owned Perks Pool and sold it to them that is now on Crystal Springs. But as a primary caretaker for the Georgia Piedmont Land Trust, they have asked me to read this letter on their behalf since they could not make it from Atlanta. So, dear Commissioners, the Georgia Piedmont Land Trust, an accredited land conservation organization that owns property in the immediate area of the proposed water withdrawal, writes to share the concern of our entire board. We agree with Jason Weems' statement of March 25th to you, that's Commissioner Brew, that the drinking water of adjacent landowners as well as springs in the area depends on the same aquifer that this proposed rezoning apparently will draw from. Further studies assessing and evaluating how it will impact the surrounding properties, the community, and the area's natural resources must be undertaken and completed before any final decision is made. Any decision about such a sustained water withdrawal must be based on appropriate science. We write to raise concern about the use of a shared natural resource in a way that could negatively impact surrounding properties and the community. The county must address this question: how does allowing such an activity serve the good of the wider community while protecting its environment? Decisions driven by overuse of shared resources can have unintended consequences that affect neighboring landowners and the long-term health of the local environment. Considering these points, and as an area landowner, we oppose the request to allow Crystal Springs to sell water drawn from the very aquifer that supports the wells and the lakes in our community. Sincerely, Carol Hassel, Executive Director. She also requested that I submit this as a public record document.
Next up, Elliott, Mr. Elliott.
Commissioners, I'm Stan Elliott. I live at 5131 Crest Highway. My biggest concern is when you start drilling, you start pumping water, you cause a vacuum. We've got the old 5-tower landfill that has used tires. It's had asbestos dumped in it, and there's anything on the face of this earth that's been buried up there next to that old 5-tower. When you start drawing a vacuum on water hydraulics, and you pull a vacuum, you're going to draw stuff in. Water is heavier than a lot of things. All right, you draw that water off. Where is the leaching coming from that 5-tower mountain landfill? It's not but about 3 miles as the crow flies. We're on mica rock. That's brittle rock that shatters very easily. And I know from going down in wells and cleaning them out when I was a kid, you can change the course of water flow real easy. I've even seen dynamite done in a spring that would completely go away. My biggest thing is you start drawing that water, you cause a vacuum. Where is the leaching from the 5-tower mountain going? All right, if you split a rock, and we've got water cabins, because we've had people tell us that the rumbling we heard was those water cabins filling back up with water when we've had dry spells and wet spells. And you get a truck driver with an 80,000-pound truck running 70 miles an hour, and I don't give a darn who you got. He's gonna run over somebody when they come around that curve. And these truck drivers, they're talking about hiring. I was a truck driver for years. I drove a 80,000-pound truck. And I don't care what you do, you put up lights and all, you gonna have a truck driver trying to make a living, making big bucks, his $100,000. And the first thing he's gonna do, he's gonna be half asleep, he's gonna pull out, he's gonna kill a bunch of people, and then you're gonna have the pool working down there. And you're gonna have kids coming in and out of that pool and everything else. We already have problems with traffic out there. If not, come out there and sit out there on 74 up at Elliott Road and watch what goes on. And the equipment, we don't know whether this is gonna be trucks that belong to a company. And I can tell you from working with trucking companies, there's a lot of stuff that goes into keeping a tractor truck. It's hard to keep drivers because they like to drink, they don't pay child support, and a lot of them work too many hours. Now, you can say what you want to, I've been there. I've had as many as 50 drivers and 100 drivers. I've had as many as 50 trucks and 100 trucks that I've helped keep up. I work with one of the biggest bark companies in the world, and I just don't see this as being a good idea. There's too many people in our community that depends on that water, and water's life. And there's been a lot of times in my lifetime that I've had to cut the shower off after I rinsed off, soap up, and then wash off again. That's all the water I had. Thank you.
All right, next up is Mr. Rick Jones.
Rick Jones, 39 Fort Drive, and I'm totally against the rezoning. The water is a whole separate issue. I would think that there would have to be some kind of a licensing requirement that the EPA requires prior to this quantity. 25,000 gallons a day. You don't have to have all of these regulations, you can do. The Thurston, that new well that they have out there, it's affecting my water. It's noticeable. This is going to be a detriment to the farm community. What I'm noticing is that we have an issue of definition of what is agricultural and what is the purpose of it. We are jumping in. We had a situation to where we had an agricultural event that would benefit the community, and it was rejected. Now we have an agricultural situation that's a detriment to the community, and it's up for review and possibly accepted. It's just backwards. Things are just not the way they should be. We have a real issue with water. There is an infinite resource. That's a fact. And until the research gets done from the EPA requirement for extraction of water, they have to go through all of these licensing things. So my recommendation is let them go through the licensing, let them get all those permits if they haven't already, get all of the testing done, the requirements that the EPA is requiring. Once that is submitted, that they have that, then you can go ahead and try to do the approval of the water resource. But in a spot zoning, or whatever you want to call it, it shouldn't be industrial. Maybe a variance, I don't know. But the industrial thing leaves too many issues. That if they don't get the EPA requirement licensing and all that, it's open to anything.
1 minute.
And as one gentleman said, I have springs. What would keep me from going through after you, if you do approve, to do the same thing? It sets precedents that's just wrong for agricultural. And this board needs to start defining agriculture and what it is for. Agriculture is for a benefit of the community, not a detriment. Thank you for considering.
Next up is Miss Stephanie Hankinson. I hope I said that right.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Hankinson. I live at 93 Lucille Drive. I am against this greatly. The home I reside in is actually my grandparents' home. I am the third generation to live in that home. My family also, the Burketts, founded Mountain View Church, so we are deeply rooted in this community. So I speak not only for me, but for my past and for not only our kids here, but for our kids that haven't even been thought of being born yet. There is no readily available public documentation of the sources of Niagara's springs. There's, and we have no consistency but their fidelity in adhering to the water limits that have been permitted to them. There's one case that I could find that was publicly available, not behind a paywall, and I will share the link with you if you would like it. It's out of Los Lunas, New Mexico. According to Felina Martez's reporting in the Valencia County News Bulletin, Niagara repeatedly violated the agreements to their water pumping rights. December 7th, 2023, this is recent, this article was released in February of 2024, and it was updated in January of 2025. December 7th, 2023, it was revealed Niagara had in fact been consistently exceeding the amount with only 1 to 2 months of data in totality of not going over the allocations. That's with permits and with monitoring. They have spoken about their monitoring for the neighboring houses. Doesn't mean much of anything really, because even if you have permits, the consequences at the state level from Title 12, Chapter 5, Article 2 are only fines at the most. So it's not damage to them, it's just the cost of doing business. Whereas we get no employment that comes into this county whatsoever from the state either. So they have no permit, so they have absolutely no accountability. We are trusting their handshake. That is it. Niagara has a history of doing this to communities in severe droughts. New Mexico is in the middle of a desert, and they still are pumping from there. We are in the worst drought we've had since 2012. And it's not even the worst one I remember in just my lifetime. Water's a finite source. We are blessed in this county with springs. There's going to be other places that are in for hell. We have a blessing. We must protect it for our generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is, first name is Morgan. Is that Kurt? Kent, I'm sorry.
My name's Morgan Kent. I live at 102 Ferguson Road. My family lives at 4543 Crest Highway. I speak not only for them, but also for my neighbors who also only live off of wells on our properties. We are too far back from the road easement to be provided with public water. I am against the water harvesting under the circumstance that it is not only consumptive use, meaning the water does not return to our water table or to our agricultural system. It is to be bottled up and ported away to who knows where, which I'm sure it could be used to provide need to plenty of communities who are lacking in water, but at the same time it is going to cause us the same issues as these communities that will end up needing it. We are a growing community, currently having people move not only to the Griffin and Spalding County area, but to Thomaston itself. And we are in need of making sure that our water does not vanish in that instance. We do not need to be selling it to some corporation that is only going to take and not give. They claim they are going to provide 12 jobs that are no guarantee to even going to be residents of Upson County, because you can say it's from the community, but people are coming and going and driving over an hour sometimes to find good work. And they will do that for $100,000 a year. So there's no guarantee that this person who applies for this job is going to stay in Upson County, is going to spend their money in Upson County, or even pay Upson County taxes. There's no guarantee they're going to build and raise a family in Upson County. I am 29 years old. I moved here about 5 years ago with the full intent of buying land here in Upson County to start my own garden, to raise my flock of birds, and to hopefully have a family, if I so choose to live in the area and to contribute back to the community. Another issue this provides is creating a precedent for people to sell their well water to these companies to be ported off in mass, so that way we can make up for the fact that there is a lack of jobs and that are not being provided by issues like this. I am not able to drive a truck. I am stuck with what's here in the area. So the $100,000 does no good for me. It does no good for all my fellow citizens who can't have a license and stay on the road for hours at a time. And it does nothing for the agricultural community. It does nothing for the residents. All it does is take. We can say those 12 jobs are great, but it does nothing for most of us around here. We need actual industry. If you're going to bring industry, that's actually going to provide to the community, pay it back, and provide jobs, and not take.
Thank you. Mr. Shane Phillips.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Shane Phillips. I live at 380 Baker Britt Road. I appreciate all y'all's service and listening in on this tonight. As several of your other constituents has pointed out, this is a clear case of spot zoning, which is in violation of the county's comprehensive land use plan. But I mean, other than that, we'll get into some other things, because, we're consistently being told there's 99,000 gallons of groundwater per day, and to me, the 99,000 or the less than 100,000 gallons per day rule was put in place to assist in agricultural operations, whether it be watering crops or just anything along that line that had watering cattle, anything that had to do with agricultural possibilities. To me, water harvesting, if that's what we're truly asking for here, is it an agricultural operation or is it a manufacturing operation? If it's a manufacturing operation, then so be it. Then why does it get to fall up under an agricultural use as regulated by the state versus something that's basically going to be commercially packaged and sold? But at 100,000 gallons a day, this project would require review and permitting by the Georgia EPD. At 99,000 gallons per day, it does not. That's not a coincidence, and it should not be ignored in this situation. What it means is this board is effectively being asked to approve a project at a scale that is just below state oversight, and without any of the technical analysis or permitting that would be required if it went through the state. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but there's no hydrological study on record. There's no aquifer impact analysis. There's no demonstration of what this effect would be on
1 minute.
Nearby wells, the spring system, or future water availability for this area. I believe, and y'all could definitely correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think less than 1,000 feet from this site, you just spent almost $100,000 on a well for the county. And yet we denied permits to build a 90-home subdivision that was $600,000 and up that would have definitely impacted the tax base here, whereas this is not going to impact the tax base to the same extent that would. I speak on behalf of countless family members that live within a 3-mile circumference of this area that have wells that are very shallow that I think this will have some impact on. And like everybody else has said, I've known Mr. and Miss Ellington my whole life. I have a lot of respect for them. Spent most of my childhood in their care, probably, at their recreational complex. So I don't wish them any harm and wish them to be able to do the best they can with their land, but I'm firmly against this and I'll push.
Miss Alicia Maddox.
I did not bring my paper. So I am Alicia Maddox from 630 Andrews Chapel Road. I live on the opposite side of town. But this does affect my family because I have an 11-year-old little boy that boards a school bus at 7:15 every Monday through Friday and drives to Woodbury and rides the school bus and comes back home. So my concern is greatly for safety. My child has had to navigate on his school bus this year alone past 3 fatalities on that road. 3 in 1 year. That is very, very concerning to me. 760 feet, I think is what Jeffrey said, line sight to the east. Am I right? Thank you. You top that hill and you come around that curve, a school bus with a huge tanker. Y'all, those are our babies on that bus. And, I mean, how is it gonna stop? That is my thing. I understand that we're gonna put up monitors, we're gonna put up flashing lights, we're gonna put up radars. You know, at 7:15 on a January morning, you know, if it's foggy, how's it gonna read that? You know, my thing is I want our children to be protected more than anything. And like a lot of people in here, I've grown up with the Ellingtons. I was raised as an Ellington. So, you know, my thing is I just want what is going to be safe for our children. And I think that, you know, I know that my Flint deserves safety, you know, more than anything. So, that's my concern.
Thank you. Next up is Gina Means. Somebody ask outside if there's, might be delayed out there.
It is. It's about 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Sorry, there's a slight delay in what we're watching, but I do appreciate y'all putting that out there for us. It's been very helpful. My name is Gina Means. I live at 250 Will Franklin Road, and we're a few miles from this area. And I, too, have been to Parks Pool as a kid. Don't do it now. But I just got 3 concerns. And I'm a strong believer in being able to use our property. I mean, sometimes that's our livelihood. I mean, people have auto repair shops, all kinds of things at their homes to make extra money. But I feel like this is a little excessive in the amount of what we're trying to take out. And I say that because my dad had cows. He just passed away last year. And we had, in the years that he's been alive, he owned that property since 1960 something. We have had to water cows out of kiddie pools. And now my brother and sister own the property. And I have a feeling that we'll be in that same boat. We're already in a drought now. So that's my concern with the water situation. And I now work a couple of days in town. Sit at a red light down here on Church Street a couple days a week. And I know they lowered the speed limit to try to get people to slow down. I sit there every day, see them run the red lights, hit a car. I don't care what kind of flashing light. These people don't care. I wish they did. But I mean, I cross that street back and forth from Church Street over to the parking lot, across where Bostrix used to be, and it's scary. And I've talked with the city about changing some of the parking and all that with Taylor Smith helping the businesses down there. We own 4 buildings downtown. So I don't see how you're going to slow 18-wheelers going down a major highway. Well, it's not a major highway, but it's heavily traveled. And I just don't think big trucks and kids belong in the same area. When we go to fuel up our RV at a diesel station or we're on the road,
1 minute.
Getting out with my dog, my daughter, for us to take a walk around the park, it's scary watching those 18-wheelers that close to you. And all you want to do is get some gas. So that's all I got to say. I'm against. But I wish them well. I mean, whatever happens. I mean, thank you.
Okay. Next up is Chip Means.
He's against, but I'll see if he wants to talk. He said no.
Okay.
Thank you.
Miss Judy Turner.
My name is Judy Turner. I live at 4330 Crest Highway. I've been there for 33 years. I have no ill-mannered feelings toward the Ellingtons whatsoever. My first concern when this project was brought to me, it could potentially be a safety issue with the entrance and knowing the traffic in this area during the summer months. It's also a truck route, a double passing lane, a work route, a school route, a family entrance area for summer events. The zoning classification is not compatible with the comprehensive plan in this area, which is agricultural residential, but was voted in by the zoning committee on March the 9th, 2026. There's been a lot of well water questions that have been brought up in the process in many areas, and many people in the area are still on wells and they rely on it, me being one. Many entitled have enlightened me on things that I was not even aware of to even consider when this was brought to me. But the more I hear about the water situation, I do have a concern about it. There's many companies like this coming into local wanting to draw our water, out of our town and everything. I live directly across from the entrance site. And this is a picture of my property and my driveway and their driveway, if y'all want to pass them around and look at them. Their driveway going into the picnic area of the pool will be extended up to my driveway. But my concern is with 16 to 20 trucks coming in and out a day and night, when they start to come out at night, they're going to be shining their headlights directly through my house. Not to mention the noise it's going to add to my residence. This is not residential. This is what I feel after thinking about it is far-fetched. I've been there for 33 years, and that's my home. And I actually purchased my home from them. My home is only 57 yards from the highway. And if they're entering and exiting at dark, they're going to be shining straight through my door, and I'm directly north of where this planned site is. And I've been there for 33 years. It's not compatible with the surrounding AR character, which will materially impact adjacent residential property value and marketability, as well as rural character. I have pictures of my home and the area where they're putting this driveway and how it impacts my driveway. And I respectfully ask that the commissioners to consider if this is a good move for our community. And I ask you please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ashley Turner.
Ashley Turner. She's not speaking. Not speaking.
Okay. Dusty Turner.
Just again.
Okay. Rochelle Ash.
It's Rachel.
Rachel.
I'm sorry.
Rachel Ash.
Having glasses on and everything.
You were close.
My name is Rachel Ash. I live at 331 Will Franklin Road, and I'm just going to speak on a personal level. Again, I don't have anything against them. I love perks, take my grandkids, but the majority of my life we have had cattle on our property. There's never been a year that I can remember that we didn't have to put water in troughs, because we have a spring on our property that we depend on for our cattle and to keep our pond. Every year, the pond drops. Every year, we're having to get our troughs out to put water in from the wells. In, I'm going to say the last 30 years, my dad had to put a new well in because his well went dry. So I guess my concern is, it may not happen in the next year or 10 years, but what's going to happen in 30 years? I got to think about my grandkids who I hope will inherit my property, and will there still be water coming from that spring? Because I hope in my family we always keep sharing down the cattle and the property. And I know if my water table drops in my pond, and I have to feed my cattle or find a way to give my cows water, I don't see how at some point their spring would not go dry also, or deplete other people's that are around it. And that's very personal, because I see it every year. It's on my land from a spring. And that's really about all I have to say, because you've heard everything else.
Thank you. All right, looks like maybe James.
That's my husband, and he stands with me.
Okay. All right, and then. Wait a minute, Chad. There's Chad. Maybe Chad Cleve.
Chad, Cleve.
Hello, y'all. Chad Clave, 2303 Pickard Road, here in Thomaston. Been here about 6 years. Mr. Chairman, if you would do me a favor and read the names of those on your list that are in favor of this, I'd like you to do that out loud, please.
I already covered that first.
But there's other people that weren't on the call earlier that may not have heard that, who are now joining the call remotely, and I would like you to read any names that are in support of this. If you would be so kind, I'll be happy to wait.
That's what I just said, there are none.
Well, there are none. Okay. That should tell you something. The residents of this community are intelligent. They know what's important. They know the value of family. They know the value of neighbors. They know the value of water. By nobody being in support of this, it makes me wonder what value it brings to the table. Other than monetary value, I don't know the people who are actually looking to do this. I respect anybody who wants to do anything on their property. That's the reason we live in the country. Thank you so much for that opportunity in this county. But I have to wonder in my own mind, and I know that this gentleman over here is a very intelligent man. He's going to have numbers for us. He's going to have analysis that they've done on the aquifers and on the wells and all these studies. But I ask you one question to consider. What if they're wrong? What if they're wrong? Let me paint a picture for you. If they're wrong, our 60-foot well will not have water. If they're wrong, we won't have water at our home. Our neighbors won't have water because they're higher up the hill than we are. The wells will turn to mud. And when they do, they're not drinking water.
1 minute.
Thank you. They're no longer drinking water. They're going to leave and go somewhere else and dig another hole and find another community and start all over again. We, who have invested money into the properties that we own, what are we going to do? Buy their water? Is that the plan? What would you do? Would you buy their water? What would you do if it was your place? What would you do if it was your place, sir? I ask you to put yourself in our shoes when you consider your decision tonight. Because if you're wrong, you got to answer to the Lord, not me.
Thank you. Time's up.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, that concludes public comment on the public hearing. Mr. Ellington, you will now get 10 minutes rebuttal. Whenever you're ready, we'll start.
I signed up as well.
Is there another sheet to that?
Early on.
Have you signed up on the white sheet? Is that what happened? What's your name, ma'am?
Susan Harper.
Susan Harper. Okay.
I got the wrong sheet.
Yeah, you did. All right. I'm going to look at these names. I think most of these people spoke. Susan Harper, Franklin That's a different topic. Mr. Elliott. Okay, I see your name. We'll allow you to speak. Is there anyone else who signed up on this sheet that meant to sign up to speak?
Essentially, just about everything I have notes on has already been covered, but I just wanted to have my say.
Sure.
I live at 292 Barker Road, which there's one tract between our property and the Ellington's property. We've been there since 1957. It's abundant water. We've been blessed. We have a farm, goats, cows, chickens, horses, buffalo, everything you can imagine, but they all have to be watered. Currently, we know that this well that the county has now supplies over 2,200 residences and property as far away as Northside subdivision and Cherokee Acres subdivision. You had to dig a new well in the last year because the old well was failing. I don't know what was failing, if it was lack of water or mechanical or what, but what will become of this obligation that the county has is the water supply is diminished. And my other comment was, who would profit now? Jeff pointed out that that local jobs would be created, but still we're talking about 12 people out of, what, 27,000? Several wells could be drilled, and that water would serve Upson County well. The water would go back into the ground where it's used. If this property, if the water is taken out by this water furnishing company, it's gone forever. You know, it's going to Noonan and then who knows where. But it's not doing anything to help the Upson County. We know that they said they were going to monitor 1,500 feet, but out in the country, 1,500 feet is not very far.
Yes, ma'am. You have 1 minute.
Again, spot zoning, it was my impression that we didn't do spot zoning. And if we do this with spot zoning, other people are going to want the same thing. Because there's a lot of water out there. Now, I've got no knowledge of how much, but we have one spring on our property. We've got more than one, but we've got one that they measured at 125 gallons a minute. So that's a lot of water. And basically, all I'm asking is kind of like the Hippocratic oath that said, do no harm. Do the best you can in this job as a commissioner, but try not to harm the people. Because this water resource, it's gone, it's gone. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, I think we got everybody now. Mr. Ellington, you'll have 10 minutes to rebut.
I want to address the concern about the adverse effect on the water in the community. I see this as a twofold question. One, will the aquifer be adversely affected? And the second issue is, will my well or neighboring water sources be adversely affected? And I'm going to address the issue about the aquifer being adversely affected first. Basically, this spring that we're looking at is located 760 feet above sea level. It is surrounded by higher elevation ridges, which basically forms the head pressure that pushes the water down and then up through the spring to the surface of the water. So the spring water actually comes from the fractured rock aquifer or the crystalline aquifer. Now, what you have to look at to determine the amount of water that goes into this aquifer is the spring shed or the area that recharges this aquifer. And the area that recharges this aquifer is 10.5 square miles, approximately 6,700 acres. Basically what that means is all the precipitation that falls on that area each year goes to recharge that aquifer. The average precipitation for that area is 57.9 inches per year. That's going to equate, and if I could turn your attention, all of these figures are on the next page after the letter by Mr. Todd committing to the traffic monitoring system. That 57.9 inches per year is the equivalent of 10.6 billion gallons of water per year that falls on that area. Now, some of that water evaporates, some of it runs off. However, 13.6% of that, or 1.44 billion gallons, infiltrates into the ground to recharge that spring. So basically, yearly, 1.44 billion gallons of precipitation recharges the crystalline aquifer, which provides water to the spring. Now, let's look at the figures that we have spoke about in the past. Without a permit from the state, we are allowed to withdraw up to 100,000 gallons per day. Maximum performance, the maximum withdrawal per day for the year would be 36 million gallons for the year. A more realistic approach is going to be approximately 70,000 gallons per day, which is a yearly amount of 25 million gallons. So if you look at the amount of water that goes into this aquifer yearly versus the amount of water that we are looking to withdraw from this spring, at the maximum withdrawal, we're looking at withdrawing 2.5%. At the realistic withdrawal rate of approximately 70,000 gallons per day, we're looking at withdrawing 1.7% of the water that recharges that aquifer yearly. So basically, the simple math does not support the theory. There's absolutely too much water in this aquifer. And you heard some of the members of the community say this: we have an abundance of water out there, but what if? So that what if is the fear of the unknown. What I didn't hear were any factors or any figures to support, well, this is why my well is going to go dry. The figures show the opposite. The figures show that only 1.7% of the water will be withdrawn from that aquifer based on the amount of water that recharges that aquifer yearly. Now, all of these figures are readily available to the public, and they have been documented. If you turn the page to the next page, this addresses the issue of will the neighboring wells or water sources be affected? And it's different from what we spoke about just then. Just then is the entire aquifer. How is it going to be affected? Now we're talking about on an individual basis. Now, our testing plan on site will include, and this is if we are allowed to drill a production well, we'll be looking at testing, ongoing testing on that production well, which will include the maximum rate test, step drawdown test, and short duration pump test, and long-term pump testing. Now, during this testing, or basically, let me back up. This testing is used to determine the efficiency of the well that's drilled, the appropriate size of the well, the amount of time it takes the well to recover when it's pumped over what it's capable of producing. One thing that we are not allowed to do is we're not allowed to dry up that spring. The government does not allow that. So that is a concern that some people have expressed. It's simply not going to happen. This testing will provide the data that will allow us to determine what the yield of that spring is. Now, that has not been done on the test well because the amount of capital that is required to install a test well, that amount has not been expended yet to drill the test well to perform the testing. Now, during this testing, what we are looking at is monitoring nearby wells. And we've heard the figure 1,500 feet, and that's the figure that I presented to the zoning board last time, and I'll get to why that figure is important in a minute. But during testing, all wells within 1,500 feet of the production well, which includes the 4 previous test wells drilled on the property, the water well that is supplying the water to Crystal Springs Recreation now, Miss Judy Turner's well across the street, and Mr. McManus's well on the back of our property. The monitoring will be real-time monitoring, and during the testing, it will relay information back, basically relaying whether there are any adverse effects on the wells during the testing or during the pumping. Now, what I propose to the board is, and I heard a member of the community express this a minute ago, why are we to believe the experts or the company? And what I propose to the board is This testing will be performed by the company because it is in their best interest. Before they expend capital, they want to know that the water supply is sufficient in quality and quantity. So the testing is going to be performed by the company. But what I propose to the board is, with a county independent expert chosen by the county on site to monitor any and all testing, and to then render an opinion as to whether this pumping and whether this well and the withdrawal of water from will adversely affect neighboring wells and water sources. All testing documentation from the company will be made available to the county at their request, and any adverse effects that take place during pumping will halt the testing and the pumping until it's either resolved or determined that it cannot be resolved. If there are any adverse effects and it cannot be resolved, at that point, the project stops and does not move forward because it's in nobody's best interest at that point, the communities nor the company. Now, I want to draw your attention to the bottom of that page. There was a similar study done on this aquifer, not in Upson County, but on the same aquifer, where they tested the drawdown effects on neighboring wells. And the reason 1,500 feet was mentioned is during that study, a production well was drilled and 8 observation wells. And what was noticed is when that production well was pumped at 230 gallons per minute, which is way beyond what we seek to pump, observation wells close by showed an immediate drawdown. Wells between 50 and 100 feet showed a drawdown within minutes or hours. Observation wells within 150 to 300 feet was a small drawdown or detectable. And observation wells between 300 and 1,000 feet, slight if any drawdown. So when you get close to 1,000 feet, there is only a slight if any drawdown. There are no neighboring wells within 1,000 feet of where the production well will be. The only well that's operating and providing water is actually the well that provides water to Crystal Springs Recreation. It has supplied water to that recreation center since 1859. It's the longest operating business in Upson County. It's still operating. That business is 100% totally dependent on that water. So I'm not going to stand up here and present something to the board that's going to affect the water supply of a business that I own that is 100% totally dependent on that same water. The water that's coming out of the spring that provides water to the pool is the same spring that we're seeking to withdraw water from. The testing was done during the initial testing, and there were no effects on that amount of water that provided water to, or on the amount of water coming out of that spring. So basically what I'm presenting to the board and what I'm asking for is a conditional rezoning from AR to M1, conditioned upon the testing of the production wells by the company's experts, observed and monitored by the county's independently chosen expert, with all testing information made available to the county and the opinions made available to the county. What that does is it serves the need and the concerns of all parties. The company has the assurance that it can proceed forward with investing the capital and drilling the production well. The community has assurance that independent expert will monitor all testing and will render its opinion, and if the members of the community that have their wells tested want to...
Time's expired.
Okay.
You can finish your sentence.
Okay. If they want to extend the testing into production, we will be more than happy to do that, and then the board has the assurance that if those conditions are not met, the board has the power to withdraw that rezoning, and it would revert back to AR.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Okay. So that concludes the public hearing. Are there any questions of the applicant before we close the hearing?
Yeah, I have one clarification, and the second is just a general question about the line of sight. On the, I think you answered my question, but to clarify, just one production well, correct? You have 3 test wells now?
We have 4 test wells now. 2 of the test wells, if you look at the topographical map, 2 of the test wells that are furthest away from the spring produced water, but the chemical makeup of the water that it produced did not match the chemical makeup of the water that was coming out of the spring. And that is a requirement to be able to capture spring water, market it as such, and sell it as such. There has to be a chemical makeup to a known spring source. So those 2 wells are drilled, they're test wells, they can be monitored, but they are not considered providing spring water. So there are 4 test wells, either 1 or 2 production wells, depending on the amount of water that 1 well will supply. But the amount that cannot be exceeded if we are withdrawing the maximum amount daily would be 69 gallons per minute. So we cannot exceed that amount. So we are pretty confident with 1 production well, but there is the option of another well, which those 2 would be tied together and then the water pumped to the eastern end of the property.
And the state requirement is 99,000 gallons per day per well?
No, it's 100,000 gallons to be withdrawn from that property per day, is my understanding. But we have no intent to, like I said, the optimistic and the realistic expectation is around 70,000. And the concern that this is self-monitoring, all of those records are kept digitally. We will make them and we will submit a report to the county daily, weekly, monthly, as to how many gallons are withdrawn and how many truckloads come in and out. So the self-monitoring, I mean, it's monitored by federal regulations, but the state does not require a permit. So it's not a self-monitoring act.
All right. And then on the radar system, just to understand it a little more, so the line of sight's at 760 feet. You're proposing to go to 1,760 feet. That radar, so what happens in between 1,760 feet and that 760-foot line of sight? If a car's in between there, would it pick it up between that point?
My understanding is from where the radar will be installed, which will, according to DOT regulations, and obviously if they allow it on the right-of-way, from that point looking back toward Thomaston eastward, it would pick up from where the driver's line of sight ends and proceeds another 1,000 feet to give him an additional 1,000 feet. So the driver's line of sight would pick up vehicles up to that point, because the radar cannot be placed at the drive, because obviously it can't see around that curve, just like the driver can. So it's going to have to be where his line of sight stops to continue the line of sight down the highway.
All right.
Any questions? Okay, Mr. Elton, I have a question. So the state says up to 100,000 gallons a day from the site. So how much water do you use on a daily basis to replace water in the pool from evaporation?
Basically, I don't have to replace it because of evaporation. That pool is sitting on top of a spring. Per minute, the state has measured the amount of water going into that pool somewhere between 100 and 110 gallons per minute. The water flows into it constantly, 24/7, 365 days a year. So basically, the water flows into it. When the pool is full, it runs out of overflows and then continues on.
Okay, and then when I visited you, you said is there a kiddie pool or some other pool that you have to do something with separately?
Yes, that is the other pool that is on the property. It's a, for lack of a better word, it's a kiddie pool, and it holds 24,000 gallons, and it is drained and cleaned nightly. So it is, the water's let out of it. Now it is filled by flow of gravity from water from the big pool. So the big pool pushes water into it, and they match.
Okay, so on the site, what I just heard you say was you use 24,000 gallons of water a day to fill the kiddie pool, and you use 100 gallons a minute to fill the other pool. I don't have the math. But
I'm not really using it, it just flows in. The way it's been described to me, I've got a spring and I've got a pool that holds a certain amount of water. Water flows into it and then continues on. It is on the adjacent piece of property from what we're seeking to rezone. So it's on the 3.74 acre piece of property. So that spring and the spring on the piece of property we're seeking to rezone, they're connected. There are different orifices in the surface where water comes out, but they are similar springs. One is providing water to The pool, the other, is basically providing water to nothing right now. But they are actually withdrawing and getting water from the same crystalline aquifer, yes.
Okay. That's what I'm understanding. And then my next question goes to the shared driveway. The concern, like you said, coming from the west, right, turning into the facility. I don't know what your design is. I saw that, but it would have to be in such a way that that truck does not need to cross over into the oncoming line, because you only see 700 feet. If you cross it over trying to turn right, that could be disastrous. So I have a question about that. And then my second question is about how wide is this? And I don't know which constituent spoke about it, but the concern is you're using the same driveway that people are bringing their families into your property, right?
It's my understanding that the DOT, and Mike Nyker may be able to help me here, he's our engineer. The DOT does not allow that truck, if it's approaching from the west and it's going to turn in, the driveway has to be designed as such that that truck does not, for lack of a better word, swing out into the oncoming traffic to make the turn. I think the drive has to be wide enough for that truck to turn in without leaving its lane of travel, because obviously that creates a traffic hazard for oncoming vehicles. So the drive would be designed as such to accommodate that. The second issue, I think, what was it?
It's a combined driveway where you have personal vehicles coming in and out, and your parking for personal vehicles is over to the right, closer to the pool. I don't know where kids might run around. That's just my
Kids would not be, the only time they would be present at this drive is actually when they're entering the facility in a vehicle. It is a shared drive. Personal vehicles would pull into that drive. They would continue straight to a designated parking area. When the families leave their vehicles from that designated parking area, they would be toward the northwestern corner is where they would exit it, which puts them the furthest away from that drive that they could be, and then they would proceed by foot to the pool. The trucks would pull in, and as soon as they pull in, they are taking a left, which is going to turn them into, or pull them up to the gate to the fenced-in area.
All right, I think that's all I have. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay, I have Commissioner Jones with a motion to close the public hearing. I have a second.
Second.
I have Commissioner Biggs with a second.
Commissioner Ellington?
Abstain.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Bruce?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. The public hearing is closed. At this point, we can have discussion, debate. Before we do that, we need a motion. Do I have any motions at this time?
Mr. Chairman,
Mm-hmm.
I guess this may be a discussion, but based on the information and everything that we have heard here today, as of July the 25th, 2023, we did a comprehensive plan update.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have 3 board members that served on that same committee at that particular time. Does what he wanted to do, does it meet our comprehensive plan? At this point in time, no. Is this considered being spot zoning? Which actually it would. When you take things into consideration.
Commissioner Biggs. So we're gonna have all those discussions,
Okay.
but we have to have a motion to approve. I would recommend a motion to approve, and then if people do not want to approve it, the vote would be no, right? Because there's only 4 of us voting, right? If we make a motion to disapprove, if it's a tie, that motion fails, we fail to disapprove, then we have to turn around and take a motion to approve and vote again. So I would recommend someone make the motion to approve, and then we have a discussion.
But this time I
Is that,
Go ahead.
Can we get the attorney's opinion on that process that he just laid out? Is that accurate?
Well, I think what he's trying to do is get us into discussion, so.
Well, we didn't make
Can
a
we-
motion to
I mean,
discuss
unless there's a motion.
approval or disapproval. That's in Robert's rule.
Okay. So we want to make a motion, just have,
I'll make a motion to enter discussion.
okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Jones to enter discussion about rezoning this parcel to M1 for the purpose of water harvesting. Is that accurate?
Right.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Watson.
Commissioner Ellington, Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs,
yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Chairman Brewer.
Okay, so, yes, we're going to have discussion. We have to have a motion to have discussion.
Right.
All right, so, I recognize you,
All right.
Mr. Biggs.
When we took this office, we took an oath to do what was best for the community at large itself. When you have different things that come before this board, we have hard decisions that we have to make. Each decision that we make has to be the right decision, whether we agree with it or not. It can't be a personal decision. It has to be what is put in place for this county to protect the citizens. That's how all of our decisions should go, and that's what our decisions should be based on. Does the citizen have the right to do what on his property he wants to do as far as harvesting water? I would say to a certain point, yes, he should. But you also have to ask yourself the question, look at your zoning rules and regulations. What the person is trying to do, does it meet the criteria? Does it meet the comprehensive plan? What does the comprehensive plan say? Does it meet the location? Listen to what your neighbors are saying. We cannot say what he's trying to do will work. We can't say that it won't work. None of us can make that decision. But the decision that we can make is go by what's in this comprehensive plan. If this plan say what he wants to do, he should have the right to do it, then we have no choice but to make the decision to accept his request. But at this point in time, this plan, which was approved by the Board of Commissioners in 2023, does not support the plan that he's trying to do.
Does anyone else want to be recognized?
Yeah, so as it relates to spot zoning, because that was a concern I had, and this is another question for the attorney, but with it rezoning to M1, that does open the door to a lot of things that could happen there. I know the planning and zoning put the condition to potentially revert it back. My question is that the appropriate way to accomplish that? Is there a way to accomplish it? And if so, what is it?
Well, you wouldn't be able to make an absolute reversion back to A1. What I think, and obviously I'm speculating here, what I think the intent behind the planning commission was to kind of control it. And my recommendation as far as an option to do that would be to rezone it M1 with a condition that it only be for water harvesting. Or you could even go further and say M1 with the condition that it can only be used for water harvesting as it pertains to the property owner. So in other words, if it were ever sold, then at that point it would no longer meet zoning for water harvesting. So you could do it one of those two ways, but you couldn't put an absolute
Automatic reversion.
reversion back on it, because that would then do away with the whole due process of what we're doing here today.
Yeah. Yeah, so my question would be, some people might know I was looking for some commercial property, and there's some things like this in Upson County. There's some crazy zoning stuff in Upson County. What you just referred to was to rezone to M1 and then create a special exception within M1 that would allow water harvesting. I think another constituent mentioned do a text amendment in ag for water harvesting. I would argue, and I'm not a lawyer, I would argue that if you tried to make M1 with a special exception, you are creating a new ordinance, which would require us to advertise a text amendment change, to read it twice, to have public comment, and then go forward. I don't believe that would stand up in court of law if we were to do that tonight. So I would not recommend the board consider that because we have special exceptions in our ordinances already. There is no water harvesting, just like y'all may know. There's other events that aren't in our ordinances either, right? But that is the way it is. And to do that would be basically creating a new law, in my opinion.
Well, and Chairman, my distinction is not, our special exceptions, if you look at our zoning, they're set out.
Yeah, that's
It says a special exception can be A, B, C, or D.
Right.
It's not said in M1 water harvesting. So it wouldn't be a special.
That's what I'm saying, it doesn't exist.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
So it would just be a condition on it, not a special exception.
Yeah. But you're making a condition, which if it is not this, it would revert back to M1.
No, it would not be allowed, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Nothing else other than water harvesting would be allowed.
Yeah, I don't know where you get that in our ordinance then, right?
You would be creating it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're trying to create law here, and I don't think that's where we want to go.
I don't think you would be creating law. I think you have the authority to put conditions on zoning. It's no different than if no buffering exists, you require certain buffering. It's a condition. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Got it.
All right, you ready for something else?
He has the floor.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I want to make a motion to close the discussion and make a motion to deny on account of it does not meet the comprehensive plan.
Okay, let's do one thing at a time.
I'll make a motion to close this discussion.
Okay.
Is that what you want?
Well, I was recognizing you for discussion, right? Because everyone up here hasn't had an opportunity to have a discussion yet.
Okay.
So,
go ahead.
All right, so I think there's a number of points we need to talk about. I don't disagree where you're going. I just want the public to know, I think every member up here has spent an inordinate amount of time trying to get smart on water harvesting and trying to get smart on the road and trying to get smart on a lot of things. I had a number of questions. One was, whose water is it? All right, when I spoke with the EPD, they said it is the state of Georgia's water, right? It's his land. He can do things on his land, but the water is a shared resource, belongs to the state of Georgia. They have provisions that you can use it for personal and reasonable use up to 100,000 gallons, right? Their opinion, when I spoke to them, was monetization of the water is not personal and reasonable. They also said, they have a 100,000 gallon limit, and that's out there for basically like the peanut farmers in South Georgia have to do a lot of irrigation, things like that. They may go over that. There has to be a bona fide need for the water, a bona fide need for the water, and then there has to be a conservation plan. And agricultural water is going back into the soil. You may have a bona fide need for water for a cooling system for some manufacturing in M1 or M2. But there still has to be a conservation plan on how do you collect condensation, how do you keep as much water as possible. So I think this proposal doesn't meet any of those. The other thing I think we need to be aware of is that we saw our neighbor Pike County do something very similar. They have approved one water harvesting site, then they did not approve another water harvesting site. Now they're being sued because of fair and equitable treatment under the law. So I would be very hesitant for us to approve water harvesting for anyone, and I think a lot of our constituents mentioned this. What if Mr. Weems wanted to harvest water? What if Thunder and Springs wanted to harvest water? What if Willingham Springs wanted to harvest water? And in all my research, I found out there's more than one non-disclosure agreement out there in this county. There has been, right? So I think if we go this route, we have to be prepared to keep going this route. I just want everyone to understand where we're coming from. There is the issue of spot zoning that was brought up and covered. The land is able to be used. It could be used as a home site. It's used currently as an economic site where he rents pavilions for things. So it's not like land cannot be used. It is not in compliance with the comprehensive plan. When it comes to safety, I did talk to DOT. I talked to different courts. So we do have a lot of things going on that road. We have a number of speeding tickets in that particular area in excess of 80 and 90 miles an hour. So I think it's a very dangerous area to be pulling trucks out. And my biggest concern is equal protection under the law. And if we go this route, we have a lot of springs in this county. And because of others in this county are also looking at this. Others in this county are also looking at this. In Pike County, numerous are looking at this. So the gentleman here from Illinois, this is what they do for a living. They try to find places where they can get spring water. Right? I just think this would be a bad precedent to set. That's my personal opinion. But I do want the public to know that we all have looked into this. There's a number of issues to cover. I don't want you to think that we're just rushing to any judgment. That we've looked at these. We've talked about these. We've talked about some of them in the work session. So I just want to make sure people understood that your elected officials are looking out for the community and trying to understand what's going on here. I have no issue with Mr. Ellington. I understand he wants to make money. I'll probably be in the same boat. Nobody wants to buy my well water though, but I just don't believe it is the right thing to do for our community. Now, if you want to make a motion to close discussion.
Make a motion to close the discussion. I guess we'll need a second.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a second for Commissioner Watson. Close discussion.
Commissioner Ellington. Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Chairman Brewer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, now we're back to the rezoning. We need a motion, either, what do we want to do with rezoning?
Make a motion to deny request of the water harvest.
Okay. Again, we can do it in a negative form. It's just that if it's a tie, we're going to have to go back and do it in a positive form. So I have a motion to deny from Commissioner Biggs. Do I have a second?
We are denying the rezoning, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Ellington. Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Chairman Brewer.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Request for rezoning for water harvesting is denied. All right. Next item on the agenda, Upson County Commissioners will conduct a public hearing for I will give it a second.
We'll get a 5-minute recess.
Do we want you guys?
Look good on Facebook tonight.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to recess for 5 minutes?
I make a motion to recess.
Okay, I have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Pictures back.
Oh, really?
We sit on. I didn't realize that.
Okay. I think I shake your hand. You
Your daughter works.
She does.
I don't know what she's been talking to.
Yep, that's my baby. Thank you very much.
Good luck to you. I see you, sir. 151 Art Street.
It's a good thing. If it is, just shoot me.
I wanted to say thank you. It's been about the situation. I really appreciate your honesty on this.
I was able to express, but I couldn't.
I completely understand. I just appreciate it. I don't have a great view of people who are in political positions during, regions. And so the fact that I was able to get clarity from most of you, I mean, a little bit more enlightening and faith, I guess, in the democratic process.
You got questions, I'll be happy to give you my number. If you got questions, don't like something, one thing. I got a regular job, full-time job working every day, but I do my best to try to. I cheat myself here sometimes, but I understand. But I appreciate that. Thank y'all.
Thank you all.
Great.
We need to have an executive session about what's happening.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to talk.
Do you want to take the stand? You want to take the stand?
I don't want to take the stand.
We're live.
I didn't turn the light off.
Oh, you did?
Motion for recess or just?
She said it's still live.
Okay, all right, we're back. Let's just get a motion to come reconvene the meeting. I got a motion from Commissioner Jones, a second from Commissioner Watson. All in favor to reconvene? All right. Next item on the agenda is public hearing for beer and wine package sales license. The applicant is on file with the Commission office from Almas Ali on behalf of 103 Hannah's Mill Inc., located at 103 Hannah's Mill Road. Do we have the applicant here?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
I got a motion from Commissioner Jones to open the hearing, and a second from Commissioner Ellington. All in favor? All right, so I didn't have anyone signed up to speak for or against this beer and wine package sales license. So my understanding is this is not a new facility. This is a transfer of a license from one operator to another operator. Ms. Jones, do you have any recommendation?
Staff recommendation is to approve.
Okay. There's no public comments. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
I got Commissioner Jones as a motion and Commissioner Ellington as a second.
Commissioner Ellington? Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Public hearing is closed. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the beer and wine license for
1403.
1403 Hannah's Mill Road.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the beer and wine license for 1403 Hannah's Mill Road from Commissioner Jones. I have a second from Commissioner Ellington.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for beer and wine package sales. Same applicant. This is for 3108 Sunnyside. Again, this is a transfer of a license for an existing business. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Watson has a motion to open the hearing.
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Motion carries.
There is no one signed up to speak at the public hearing. Is there a recommendation from staff?
Staff recommendation is to approve, just for the record, the measurements are still from the old ordinance, but because of the, because the license has not lapsed, they can continue to have a beer and wine license. I just wanted to put that on the record for
Right.
anybody to ask.
Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We got Commissioner Biggs and Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, can I get a motion on whether or not to approve the package sales license for 3108 Sunnyside?
Motion to approve 3108 Sunnyside.
I have a motion from Commissioner Ellington to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Watson.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is public comments. We did have some folks sign up on the meeting sheet. I believe they were for the water, but I'll go down them anyway, and then we'll see. Mr. Weems, no longer here. Ms. Weems, no longer here. Mr. Elliott, no longer here. Elliott, no longer here. Rick Jones. Susan Harper. Mr. Elliott again. Shane Phillips. Alicia Maddox.
She's gone.
Okay, and then Franklin Johnson.
Y'all gonna have to excuse me, I ain't had time to prepare for this because I just heard about it today on the radio. But my name is Franklin Johnson. I've been living in Upson County since 1997. I'm a truck driver. I've been driving trucks for 20 years. I drove a year over the road hauling flatbed, and I'd bring it home on the weekend, and I'd park my vehicle outside where I lived at, my residence and all. And after I had got that year, I had went to Flint Tech down there to get my CDLs, and a lot of the people I know, that's where they get them at. But after that, I spent 12 years hauling raw milk for the local dairy farmer and dairy farmers across Georgia and Alabama. And for the last 6 years, I've been hauling sand and gravel and and aggregates and all. And I heard on the radio about this morning about them passing a truck ordinance about people bringing their trucks home and be able to park them on their own property and all. And I've been, for 6 years, I have been bringing my truck home and parking in my on my property, and it's in R1 residential. And I also had another buddy that he's a sand hauler also, and he parks in the same neighborhood. And I also have a log hauler down the road that parks in the same neighborhood. This job that I've had has allowed me to be able to live in Upson County but still make a living and not have to travel to some job. Yes, I travel a lot of places during the day, but when at the end of the day, I park my truck in my property. I never had nobody say anything about it. Now, Commissioner Paul, I looked at a meeting that y'all was in that work session in Columbus, right? And you basically said, you specifically pointing out dump trucks about a neighborhood that you had a few complaints about people parking dump trucks on a piece of property. And if I recall in that meeting, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said that you couldn't do nothing. They didn't have no basis to ticket that person because that person was on private property. Now, are we in the business of making laws because we get complaints from a few people? Because, I mean, I can get you a bunch of people that drive trucks, and they might not necessarily drive them home, but I can get you a lot more than what you think the complaints are about that neighborhood. Everything in that neighborhood, if you think about it, has been hauled on a tractor trailer truck. The footings in your house, your garage, has been hauled to a place like Heidelberg and Thomaston, and concrete has been made and hauled to make that lifestyle for you. So I don't see how this board can go through with making a law just because a few people complain about it, especially because it's on private property. I mean, that'd be like me trying to go to y'all's house, find what's wrong with you, and try to get on this board and trying to make laws to make it hard for all of y'all. Ain't that right? I mean, where's the freedom? I live in the county. I don't live in the city. They have a truck law in the city. And you know, if the law passes, I'll have a place to park my truck. I won't have to pay that $150 parking fee you was talking about, or the $500 fine you want to pay hardworking people. Now, I don't know about you. I mean, I know y'all had that discussion about the weights and stuff like that. Well, evidently y'all don't know much about the trucking industry or anything like that. But
1 minute.
But I mean, I've had that experience all those years and all. And if y'all pass the law, I got a place to park, and it ain't gonna cost me $500. If this is retaliation because I've said in the past about people in this government with the tax office and the chief appraiser and if this is retaliation to me, you think you're gonna get me back by charging me $500 fine? That ain't gonna happen. I have a place I can park for free if I wanted to. All it's gonna be is an inconvenience for me, an inconvenience for my neighbor. You know, we're not making $100,000. We're making between $60,000 and $70,000 a year.
Time's expired. I said, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Time's expired. All right, that's the end of the public comments. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. What we're looking at here is approval of the March 24th regular meeting minutes and approval of a local match for a project at the Thomas and Upson County Airport for the primary and secondary aprons that we discussed during the work session, parallel taxiway and additional box hangers. I have a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Watson to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Biggs.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brewer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We'll now move into new business. We have an update from the Three Rivers Regional Commission on Upson County Transit Development Plan.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, staff, citizens. My name is Stephanie Wagner. I'm a planner with Three Rivers Regional Commission, and I'm here tonight to give a quick overview of the Transit Development Plan update that we're going to be doing that's underway for your county. If you don't mind changing slides. Transit development plans, they analyze current conditions and identify transit needs to inform your future planning for transit. This will be a county level plan, and to meet GDOT requirements, they need to be updated every 5 years. So we're playing a little bit of catch up. The last one was done for Upson County in 2019. Your county does have an updated comprehensive plan where you all might have discussed transit a little bit, but this entire focus will be on transit. Transit development plans are very important for communities because every community has people that ride transit, and these people can include people that are living with disabilities, senior citizens, economically disadvantaged individuals, the general public, and then people that are accessing human services. As I said, the scope of this plan is a county plan, but there are state and regional plans that align with that. And so back in 2025, GDOT did a regional transit development plan for the Three Rivers region, and that is linked on this slide. And then the state did a state transit development plan in 2020. And the state has a goal to improve access and mobility for all Georgians. And so these plans are part of that, getting that implemented to ensure that every Georgian does have access to public transportation if they need it. That map is pulled from the state plan. All the counties, I know it's a bit hard to read, that are in white currently don't have transit. Your county does have a rural transit system. So this plan is basically looking at that system now and thinking through what it might need for the next 20 years to help ensure that the state keeps implementing its transit for everybody. Great. So this is a 5-year update, but the planning horizon for this plan is for 20 years. So we'll be thinking through transit for the next 20 years. And to get this updated, it needs your local input from stakeholders. The final plan ideally will be adopted by your commission. And we do have 5304 grant funding from GDOT to help assist counties in our region with these updates. GDOT, again, really emphasizes the importance of these county level plans to implement statewide transit. And so they produced a guidebook to help us standardize transit development plans across the state. And so we will make sure that this plan aligns with that guidebook. And big picture, the guidebook encourages us to include the following components. Establishing a transit vision, really leaning on public participation to get input from local people representing your community and the people that might need transit. And so this could be done through a committee, possibly a public survey, as well as direct stakeholder interviews. And then part of what we'll do in-house at Three Rivers is do an analysis of existing conditions, as well as the system performance, as well as transit trends and demographic trends. We'll do a needs assessment, pulling that information together to assess current needs for transit as well as needs down the road. And then we'll establish short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. So if you want to check out the guidebook, that link is linked there. Thank you. In terms of your existing public transit service, some of you might be familiar, there's a 5-county regional transit system that Upson County falls within. You might have seen some of the minibuses driving around. You're part of the 5-county system of Upson, Spalding, Butts, Lamar,
Pike.
And Pike, thank you. And that's a flyer that we encourage everybody to circulate. And basically this is a demand response model. There's no fixed bus routes. It's where customers will call 24 hours in advance and book a ride. The bus will pick them up from their home and take them to any destination within that 5-county region. Service hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. And we do have a link to our website for the transit system. And that small picture there is just showing your regional transit system. And then there are 5 other standalone transit systems in our region. So for fiscal year 2025, the Rural Transportation Program provided 10,688 trips for Upson County. Thank you. All right, so real quick, the timeline that we're proposing is over the next few months. Right now we're in April with this presentation, and then in May and June, we would like to do stakeholder meetings as well as public outreach activities. We'll be concurrently preparing the plan and getting it really prepared in June to bring to your consideration for adoption, ideally in July. If you have any questions?
No, I just think we have to figure out how we're going to do the stakeholder public outreach. We need to, I do see the buses, you know, I know we have a senior center here. We have a bus here that we use for certain things, but maybe people getting here, I can imagine, I see the buses going up to Spalding and up to Pike County to the VA. So I don't know how, you said 10,000 trips. I don't know what they normally are, and I don't know if we have the visibility in the community that people know this is really available for them. So we do need to address that. Any comments or questions from the board?
I think I know the answer to this, but this transportation doesn't leave outside of our region. So for example, if we had a citizen here that maybe had an appointment at Macon.
Right,
Just-
yes, it's only within those 5 counties. And that is a need that comes up. So we definitely would try to put that in the plan, because there might be some way to address that over the next 20 years. Because what's important is to get your needs into a plan in hopes that funding might come down the line. And so then you have that documented need to align with the funding. So we definitely hear that. We hear that in terms of like veterans needing to access VA facilities outside of our region. And so all these things are important to discuss and try to start planning for.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a first reading of the truck parking ordinance. This is my first one ever. So.
I don't think there's a need to read it. I mean, we can summarize.
We have to make it publicly available?
Right.
Okay.
And one thing we do need to point out, staff needs to point out, is that for both the truck parking ordinance as well as the text amendment for R2, because those, I'll explain the trucking ordinance, how it's affiliated with zoning. Because these are zoning ordinances or changes to the zoning ordinance, the process, it's still the same. We would have to do a publication in the newspaper and then have two public hearings and then vote it in on the second one. So this wouldn't be able to count as a public hearing because we didn't have the time to publish it to get it on here. So, and we knew everybody wanted these on here as quick as possible. So, you know, it's I guess really a discussion opportunity for the board to confirm we want to move forward with the publication and the 2 public hearings on both of these. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The truck parking ordinance doesn't sound like zoning, but the issue is when you reference residential in it, you are making it part of the zoning ordinance. So for it to have legal standing and muster in court, we would have to have the public notification in the newspaper as well as the 2 hearings.
So let me ask a question to them. So do we need to move both of these back into planning and zoning, the director, and let them?
That would be the normal course that we would follow, but we didn't have a zoning or a planning director at the time. So
we do now.
We can let him look at them and give us a...
And that was part of the issue with the publication and so forth. So.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to move items D and E back to our zoning director for his blessing or his
Staff
curse.
recommendation.
Do we want to run, in order for this to run the process as created, it really needs to go back to the planning commission. Start the planning commission with a staff recommendation, and then that recommendation be forward to us. And at that point, we can do what we are legally obligated to do, is make change. Pretty much, it comes right back to us to make those changes, but we can make those changes here. That, in my experience, that is the proper channel to make that happen.
That's the precedent that we have set.
I think we're all agreeable to hand it over to our new planning director.
And I just want to make sure that's fair.
Okay.
I knew that both of these were important, so we wanted to get them on as quick as possible.
Okay.
Is that your motion?
Right.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah. Do we need a vote on that, or are we just gonna?
Made a motion.
Okay, so I have a motion to direct them to the new planning director, and that is for both of these ordinance and text amendments. That was Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Ellington.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brewer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. We moved item F off of the agenda. We have item G, appointment to the Board of Elections.
How many do we need? One.
Yeah, we had we talked about it in
Work session.
work session. All right, so make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Ms. Hughes to the Board of Elections.
I'll second.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brewer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, at this time, do we want to make an amendment to the agenda?
I want to make a, Chairman, I want to make an amendment to the agenda to enter into executive session after item H for litigation.
Okay, so I have a motion to add to the agenda at the end, an executive session for litigation from Commissioner Jones. Have a second from Commissioner Biggs.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brewer?
Yes. Okay, so next item, we'll go ahead and do comments because we don't think there's anything coming out after the executive session. We'll go ahead and close up the meeting. Got anything for us?
I did get an update for you. So Ben had asked me, I'll go ahead and let you know, we should have our batting cages at the rec department ready to go. The second net should be here tomorrow, and they hope to have both of them going by Friday. So that's a big addition to our recreation department that we're pretty proud of.
Awesome. Mr. Attorney?
Just a quick update on court. We had a probate court today. We had a successful court day. It was actually shorter than what we've had, which is good because that means we're catching up on our caseload. We also had magistrate court scheduled for this Thursday for their trial, so I encourage any of you that want to come watch any of it, come by and see. Start at 9 o'clock Thursday.
Bert, do you have anything you want to add?
I do have one comment. Just an FYI, we have one person on the planning commission that resigned, and so we'll be advertising for that again.
Okay.
Hear that. That's
All right. And then Commissioner Biggs,
Yes.
comments?
Yes.
Closing comments?
To our wonderful public, we want to thank you all for your concerns, your comments, your phone calls. You know, I've been on this board for, right at about 16 months. And I can tell you that we have to make some hard decisions. You have one decision that you may have to make that a lot of people agree with, and the next decision a lot of people may disagree with. But when you got everything in front of you that you need, this should be the guide that we use all the time to make those final decisions. My next comment will be about public safety. We have a lot of citizens that ride bikes. And you listen at the news and you hear what the cyclists have got hit by a car and killed and just drive away. We need to do something here in Upson County for our residents as far as some type of signage saying that bikes are also part of the roadway. I don't know where to start in the road department to try to get some type of signs or something, but I think it's something that we really need to look at.
I ride bikes on the road, so yeah, that'd be great.
What's that?
I said I ride bikes on the road, so
Yes.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and for the manager, I saw something where there may be some grant money or some, kind of like what we get for the roads that is, but there's something about creating a wider shoulder on certain roads. So that might be something to look into.
I'll look at it.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ellington.
First thing I might do is welcome Jeremy. You're gonna hear from me a lot. I guess the second thing is I just want to kind of piggyback on what Commissioner Biggs says. A lot of times we things come before us, and the whole community is looking at us to make decisions, and sometimes there's legal aspects of it, including our own ordinances, and it's not as simple as just what seems to be the focus. There's other aspects to it legally that we're required to take into consideration that a lot of people don't understand. And I know that everybody's not going to always agree with our decisions, but just please keep in mind this is this is not a real easy job to sit up here, because somebody's going to be mad at any given point in time with you. And sometimes we get mad at each other and we don't agree, but at the end of the day, we really are truly trying to do what's best for the community. I would say that I don't think there's a person that I'm aware of that's sitting up here that I have the privilege to sit up here with that wants to harm this community. Now, we may not agree on what harm is, but we don't want to harm the community. Because we all live here, we all got to see each other. We got to face the fact that our community is going to grow. You can only keep the lid on the trash can so long in a 100-mile-an-hour wind. Sooner or later, it's going to start to blow off. We're attractive. Can you believe it? We're attractive. Lots of things are going to be coming before us in the coming months and years that a lot of us that's been here our whole lives we're not used to seeing. And from the onset, we're going to look at it and go, we don't want it. But we have to, if we put up that barrier and we keep everything out, we potentially are keeping out some things that can benefit us greatly. So we just have to be careful and methodical in our decision making. And the other thing that I want to say to my fellow commissioners is I did step back tonight because it was a conflict because of the last name. I didn't have a dog in that hunt, but I felt like that was the right thing to do. I want to give everybody here on this board the explanation, but I think you did what was right for the community tonight, and I congratulate you on that. That's all I got to say.
Mr. Jones.
Well, ditto on everything said so far. And it is a hard row to hoe on some of these items that come before us, especially what happened here tonight. But it's all for the benefit of everybody in the county, not just a few. And I think we made the right decisions tonight, because it especially on one of the things that was before us, it would open a door that we couldn't close. And it's better for everybody. And other than that, I'll shut my mouth.
Yeah, two things, and welcome to the new planning and zoning director. We were actually talking beforehand, and I think this is a good opportunity to look at kind of our ordinance as a whole. I mean, at any given point, any of us could pull out an ordinance, and we probably all have different opinions about everyone in there and things that we think we could change and tweak here and there. And they're fluid. It's a fluid document. So I think having a new set of eyes, fresh opinions, it may be a good time to. And we can't tackle it all, and it's going to take time. So put a list, kind of like we used to have in the dashboard. Let's put it in the dashboard, and some may not be as pressing, and we can get to a little later. But just have an idea of what we may want to accomplish over the next few years. And then also just to kind of clear up one thing that you mentioned related to the setting of precedents. I do agree that sometimes when we make decisions on rezoning and everything, it does set a precedence, but we also, every application is different.
Right.
They have different criteria. There's different reasons why it may be for or against. So I would like to make sure everybody is aware that just because we approve something or deny something doesn't mean the next one's going to be exactly the same.
I agree.
That's all.
So I just want to, like I always do, thank everyone who's watching on YouTube. Thank everybody who showed up tonight. I think it was really impressive how our citizens educated themselves. I received, I don't know how many phone calls I received, emails I received, text messages I received, so that's good. That is good that we have our community looking out for our community and being involved, and I appreciate that. And with that, we're not going to adjourn. We're going to try to go into executive session. Can I get a motion to go into executive session for litigation? From Commissioner Ellington and a second from Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brewer?
Yes. All right, we're going to executive session.
It's nice to meet you.
I mean, they do a lot of annexations.
I'll send it to you tomorrow.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.